DeVernie, I think I need to talk to you about your enthusiasm
I'm sorry.
level.
I'm going to work on that.
Yeah, you work on that, huh?
That's what she said the first time you heard me say it.
We are blessed. And as I look around, I see that we are in the right place. We are at the right time. And you're shining, folks. You're looking really good. Looking really good. This beautiful first Sunday of spring, our topic is our highest values. Our highest values. Now, if an advanced, highly intelligent group of beings from another galaxy were to observe our world, what would they identify as our highest values? And if this advanced, highly intelligent group of aliens from another world were to look at our nation, what would they think our highest values are? What would they think about the differences in education and opportunities and earning powers that different groups have? And then, what might these aliens from another galaxy think about us? Would they be able to tell that our highest value is that love lives here? What do you think? Yeah. I'm thinking they'd be able to tell that. Yeah, that one would be a good one. Well, what might they glean from our television shows, from our movies, from our music, from our social media? What might they pick up as our highest values? And then this question, what if they were to look closer in? What if they were to zoom in and look at our family, each of us, and our individual lives? What would they determine our highest values to be? What would they recognize as your highest values? Values are the things that matter most to us. Of course, it's what we stand for and what we stand up for. Values are what give our life meaning. Values are what bring us alive. They're what we can put our passion into. They're what we live for, absolutely. And when we align with our values on a regular basis, on a daily basis, then we actually have more energy. Have you noticed that? When you're fixed, when you know what you're about, then the energy just absolutely comes through, because that's the way the divine works. That's the way the divine works. So think about it. What do you value most? Now, without saying anything out loud, think of 3 things that you value in a significant way in your life. Just take a couple of breaths and think about that. 3 things that you value highly. Question, would an observer be able to tell that from your actions and from your words and from the way you spend your time and your energy and your money? Would an observer be able to pick that up? Because sometimes we kid ourselves about our values. None of you, I'm sure, but you may know some people that have kidded themselves about their values. You know, if you say you value time with your family, and yet you're spending most of your free time on the computer, you're fooling yourself. If you say that you want to have orderly finances, and yet you don't balance your checkbook or look at where your money is going, once again, you're fooling yourself. We can tell what we value by looking at our lives. If you say you value being healthy and yet you ignore your need for fresh air and fresh food, then I wonder what your values really are. And absolutely, if you say you value self-care and don't give yourself downtime, I guess I had to mention this one because it's kind of one of mine. I say I value self-care, and yet, I don't always give myself the downtime that I need if I really, really, really valued that. So whatever we say we value, we might want to look pretty close and see if that's what's showing up in our lives. The theme for March is integrity. And integrity is living a life where what we think and what we say and what we do and are all aligned. It's that knowing ourselves at a deep level, knowing what we value, and having that all line up so that our words, our choices, our actions, the way we spend our money, the way we spend our time, all of it can correspond to our highest values. When the things that we say and do and are, the things that we live for, are in alignment, then we're living in integrity. And when the things that we do and say and experience and bring into our lives and the ways we treat other people don't line up with our values, then we have an opportunity to look at what we're doing and what we're saying. We have an opportunity to choose again. Because, if we're not lining up with our values, we can always make different choices. I remember the story of a frail old man who went to live with his son and his daughter-in-law and their 4-year-old little boy. And Grandpa was old, and he was kind of shaky, and his eyes were kind of blurry. He couldn't see well. So when the family gathered for dinner all around the table, sometimes he dropped stuff. The peas would fall off of his spoon. He'd grab for his milk glass and spill it. And his son and daughter-in-law were not very patient with this. And they said, we have to do something about Dad. We have to do something about him. And so they got a table and they set it off in a corner. And Grandpa got to eat all by himself. And because he had broken dishes, they gave him a wooden bowl to eat out of. Now, I don't know that they noticed very often, but often there was a tear in his eye as he ate separate from everybody else. But the only things that his son and daughter-in-law seemed to say were admonitions about him spilling something or dropping something or not doing it right. And the 4-year-old observed all of this. One day, Dad came home from work, and the 4-year-old was down on the floor playing with some wood scraps, and Dad said very lovingly, "Well, what are you making?" And the little boy said very lovingly, "I'm making little bowls for you and Mama to eat out when I grow up." The parents were speechless. And without even discussing it, they absolutely knew that that was not working with their values, that they needed to make some changes. And so that night, Dad went to Grandpa, took him by the hand, brought him back to sit at the table and eat with the family. And after that, it never seemed to bother anybody that he spilled his milk. It never seemed to bother anybody that there was sometimes food on the floor, because their value of love was being expressed. And they got that great reminder to do that. When what we're doing doesn't always coincide with our high values, we can always make a different choice. As human beings, that's one of the gifts that we have as human beings and spiritual beings, that we don't have to be stuck with any of our old choices. We can always choose anew. Always choose anew. So what are your highest values? And how do you express those in your thoughts and words? How do you express those values in your actions, in the way you treat others, in the way you treat the animals and the plants and all of the beings in your life? How do you express that? And can you treat yourself with those values too? I mean, if you believe in forgiveness, can you forgive yourself as much as you forgive others that you care about? If you value joy, can you allow yourself to be in joy? Can you give yourself as much joy as you give to others? When you absolutely value your honesty, can you be as honest with yourself as you would like other people to be with you? And if you value love, can you love yourself as deeply and sweetly as you love those that you hold most dear? It is so important to share our values not only with others, but with ourselves. For each of us is an expression of the divine, deserving of all good. And of course, it's helpful to remind ourselves of our values. And I've got just a couple of suggestions of ways that we can do that. Since many of us look at computer screens, a fair amount, you can make a screensaver or put something on your computer that will remind you of your values. It might be a timer that reminds you to stop and smell roses. It might be a reminder as you see the word love go by on your screen that that's what you're here for, that that's what you're here about. And of course, there's always the Post-it note thing, Put on a Post-it note what you want to remember, put them around strategically located, and they're good reminders, even though we've been doing Post-it notes, some of us, for a long time. You can also find a picture that represents one or more of your values, or a piece of music, something that will remind you day in and day out, as you listen to it, as you sing it, remind you of your highest values. One of our highest values in the science of mind and spirit is our belief in God and infinite intelligence, that essence that goes by so many names. We believe it. Now, why do we believe it? We've seen that it's there. We've seen that it works. In our Declaration of Principles, what we believe, Ernest Holmes said, "We believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe is the body of God. It's the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. God knows itself as you. God knows itself as each one of us. It lives in, through, and as us. We are part of the body of God, just as everything and everyone is." We believe it. We know it because we can see proof of it. Here's another quote from Ernest Holmes. "If we were to ask a modern scientist what authority they have for believing in a certain principle in nature, their only answer would be, because I can do something with it, it must exist. Since it reacts to the use I make of it, there must be something real about it. This is equally true of our faith in God. Because something does react to our faith, there must be something real that can react. Something's going on there. No matter what we call it, there is that intelligence. There is that life that moves through us. Now, does it show? These are the teachings that we aspire to live by. Does it show in our lives? I mean, if the aliens were to check us out, would they recognize that we are practicing science of mind and spirit? Yeah. And here's a question to think about. If you were accused in a court of law of being a religious scientist, one who practices science of mind and spirit, would there be enough evidence to convict you? You know? Would somebody see in your life enough to convict you of being a religious scientist who practices this amazing, amazing teaching? Would the intelligent beings from another galaxy be able to notice in us that we are practicing oneness, forgiveness, love, compassion, joy? Would they recognize those things in us? I certainly hope so. The truth of our being is that we are spiritual beings and not just human beings. I mean, we're human beings too. You know, let's face it. That's why we're here. Because of that, we can allow more of that divine essence, that love, that compassion, that joy. We can be conduits for that. We can open our hearts and say, okay, Spirit, okay, Source, whatever you want to call it, love as me, speak as me, do this project as me, show me the way, create this piece of art as me, use me. We all have that at our fingertips. Absolutely. And when we operate from that place of love and compassion and peace and joy, you know, it automatically draws to us everything that we need to live lives of joy, to live lives of abundance, to live lives of happiness. Because it's all about, not necessarily about what's out there, it's about our perspective. It's about how we see things. It's about how we choose to look at things. Ernest Holmes said, love is the self-givingness of the spirit through the desire of life to express itself in terms of creation. Love is free from condemnation, even as it is free from fear. Love is a cosmic force whose sweep is irresistible. Anyone here that can resist love? I mean, however it comes, you know, whatever form it comes, whether it comes in a puppy dog or a kid or a neighbor or your beloved spouse or partner. I mean, can any of us resist love? I don't think so. It's our nature to love. It's our nature to be generous with our love and to be generous with our gifts. For each of us are given amazing, amazing gifts. And valuing those gifts, valuing your individual gifts, is a value that I hope you have. I hope you recognize that you are here as a gift, that you are here to share all of that. Well, I know that at this point in my talk, there are probably some folks that are sitting out there thinking, geez, I hope she gives us some homework. Right? Right? Yeah? Well, it just so happens that there's some homework. Your homework, should you decide to accept it, is to pick one of your highest values. Pick maybe one of those three, maybe another one, whatever calls to you, and live that value for a day or for a few hours, or even if it's for a few minutes, to absolutely see everything from the perspective of that high value of yours. If you choose love, then you can have the intention that everything that you say and do is absolutely from a place of love. That you look at everyone through a lens of love, remembering that right here is the face of God. Right here is the face of God. You can do that. You can absolutely let it flow through your voice. You can let it flow through your steps. You can let it flow out from your heart to bless everyone around you, even those you might not get along with so well. It's an amazing trick. It works. And then check in often. Check in often, remembering your intention to be love. To not just be loving, but to be love. Some of you are really good at that. I happen to know that, yeah. And if you say one of your highest values is respect, you can do the same thing. You can allow your words to be words of respect. Allow everyone you look at, everyone you think about, to kind of go through that lens of respect. Everyone you see on the news, everyone you read about, respect. And of course, it's important to include yourself in that love, in that respect, in that whatever your high values are, you deserve them as well. And by sharing them, you will get even more. As expressions of the divine, we come here into these incarnations, these bodies, this physical life at this time and this place to live our highest values. That's what will bring us the most joy. Is as we live our highest values, we give other people the permission to do the same thing. I loved that you did Marianne Williamson. And the John McCain quote, I almost did it as well. Yeah, right. As we move into this wonderful season of spring, of this newness, isn't this just a great time to really look at our values, to look at our lives, to imagine those aliens looking down on us and seeing how congruent we are? Are we living what we believe? Are we living what we believe? Now, our affirmation for the week is not just for the day, it's for the week. Yeah, really. You get to take this little card home, put it someplace where you will see it, and all throughout the week, let's say this together. Everything I say and do is in alignment with my highest values. Again, everything I say and do is in alignment with my highest values. That's what I wish for all of you. Because what I know is that as you say and do what's in alignment with your highest values, you are absolutely blessed. And you are also an amazing blessing to the world. As practitioners stand, let's take that into prayer. As we open to those high values that are already within us, that are ingrained in us, that are part of who we are, I absolutely know for each one of us that we recognize that those high values come not just from something we have read, but those high values come from the very divine essence that is within us. That spark of Godness that knows that as we live in love, as we live in respect and joy, as we live in forgiveness, as we live in all of those high values, our lives thrive. We thrive. Our lives are successful and happy. We have more love, more joy. And so what I absolutely know for each one here is that as we go forward into this week, our values are clear to us, crystal clear. Whatever needs to happen for it to make it easy for us to live those values, to share those values, whatever needs to happen, Spirit is making happen. It is filling our lives with support for living our values. In every conversation, in every project, in every work experience, in every relationship. Our values are what give us meaning. Our values are what give us joy. And so I absolutely know that each person here is blessed. Blessed to remember that they are a gift. Blessed to remember that they have gifts to share. Blessed to remember that they are deserving of gifts. And so as I let this go in great gratitude, I just know an incredible week for each one of us here. With all of the support that we need, all of the resources that we need, whatever is needed to further us on our way, to support us on our spiritual path, has already been provided. And so we step into it. We accept it. We say yes to it. We take it in. We embody it. We live from that place of divine essence. So knowing that this is true, knowing that this comes to each of us with ease and grace, I am grateful, grateful, grateful. And if you would like to claim this with me, I invite you to say with me, and so it is.